One who is unable to join actually watch the recording at their leisure. So before I start, my name is Olivia Wami. I'm going to be the facilitator for today's training. A little bit about myself. I have been in the IT space for over half a decade now. In a nutshell, I focus on more of AI at the moment, but roughly a digital transformation professional. So that's really why I turned out to be your facilitator for today. So the training really is for anyone who is interested, in learning about AI, how to use AI, what's really it's about, some of the tools out there, and generally how to make the best use of AI. I will go ahead and share my screen because I have a presentation planned out. Just a moment so I can do that. Okay. Please confirm you can see my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen? You can confirm. You can actually speak to confirm or just use an emoji, whichever is fine. All right. So we're just going to be discussing the best way to leverage AI, whether as a business owner or as a professional. And it really doesn't matter today, it doesn't really matter which industry you're a part of. In subsequent trainings, we would actually, focus on specific industries, depending on who is going to be attending, just to make sure that we fit our training to what everyone would actually be interested in. But a question I have for us is how many of us have actually used, whether you have used ChatGPT, you've used Siri maybe to ask a question, or Alexa, often use Netflix, and you've also gotten like recommendations from Netflix. Um, if you have used any of these, please just indicate on the chat that you have. But why this question is important is because if you have done either of these, I'm sure one of us have actually done maybe use ChatGPT or even Google search, then you've already been using AI. So it's not actually your first radio using AI. So we have been hearing about AI for a long time now, maybe since, for most persons, since 2017, for others, since 2020, during the COVID era. But sometimes we sort of, confuse what AI really is, what it's about, what use it for, and stuff like that. So I'm just going to explain what AI is, which is artificial intelligence, really. I'm actually moving a bit with the assumption that we are aware of, AI tools, how you can use AI in your everyday life. So permit me, in case I actually say something and you're like, I don't know what this lady is talking about, please let me know in the chat box. I do not mind coming back and just explaining what I mean. So when we say AI, we are actually referring to computer systems. We use a lot of systems today, whether platforms, whether apps. So AI is just really a system in itself that is designed to perform tasks. So it can be tasks like reasoning, um, problem solving, decision making. Most of the time, it's around decision making and learning that a lot of persons use AI. But it always goes beyond that, just depending on what you're trying to achieve. So it can also be used for language understanding, pattern recognition as well. The pattern recognition is one that you are familiar with already. Maybe you don't actually know that's what it is, but you're already familiar with it because you see it in mostly recommendations. Maybe if you use Spotify, YouTube, Netflix, Crunchyroll, any of these platforms that would actually, give you like a sort of suggestion. That is pattern recognition already happening. Okay, so we have a landscape in AI because there are actually two types of AI. We have the analyzer, which is the first one we'll be discussing. This is not really used a lot by most professionals. It tends to be what specific industry you find yourself, and if you're even part of the team or the department that would really use AI in this capacity. So we have the predictive AI, which really just analyzes historical data to forecast future outcomes. And it can be found in all of the industries today. Some of which I just mentioned here is the demand forecasting in retail. A lot of us use like retail platforms. So you would actually see this, you would maybe not from the user or the customer facing side of things, but more on the admin side of things, which is what I have on my screen. So this image you're seeing here, this is just an example of what a retail demand forecast looks like, right? So you have your analyzer that helps you really gauge your past sales, your future sales, what are the sort of things that your customers would really be interested in, what are your peak seasons and stuff like that. So you can actually use the analyzer for, situations like this. Then you also have the fraud detection in banking. It doesn't really matter whether it is, retail banking, agency banking, but banking in general, you would also notice that there are conversations around maybe some of these banks saying stuff like, oh, we detected fraud and stuff like that. The analyzer can actually be used to, make life easy for individuals who are part of maybe the fraud detection team or the fraud management team or fraud monitoring team. You also use the analyzer in the healthcare sector because it actually helps with disease prediction. So I won't really be able to explain this much because I'm not part of the healthcare sector, just seeing it a little bit, right, but not really in depth. We also use the analyzer in marketing and insurance. In insurance, just for risk assessment, that's like the go-to. There are other stuff that you can use the analyzer for in all of these industries, but these are really like the top items that you would actually find. So that's it for the analyzer. The next we have the creator, which is what a lot of us are more familiar with, called the generative AI, which is really used to create new contents like presentations, music, videos, really what we can do on a day-to-day basis, right? Software code as well for developers. And you have like your go-to tools that you would need or that you would actually use for each of this creation, maybe Claude, Gemini, Midjourney, Runway, Gamma, and our most trusted ChatGPT. So this is an image that just depicts, what the generative AI is all about. Would also talk a little bit of some of the ways you can actually use this, right? For text, image, code, presentations, there are tools that you can use, like general tools you can use for this. But today there have been a lot of progress with generative AI that you have specific platforms that would actually help you with things like this. It also goes beyond this, and I'm going to walk us through that in a little bit and also show us the best, well, not really the best, but one of the platforms that you can actually use to go beyond just, content creation, maybe videos, music, presentation, and stuff. Okay. Now moving to exploring the AI ecosystem. Um, what this is really trying to say is we have actually moved beyond ChatGPT. It is not the only tool out there today. You have so many others like Cloud, Microsoft Copilot, you have Perplexity, you have Gemini, and you would also have the opportunity of using, Gemini and also Copilot if you have an organization, you're part of an organization that is AI first today. So many people usually would equate AI. When you hear AI, they either just think about ChatGPT or they think about Gemini or Copilot, because those are the ones that, you can come up your system today. And because you have maybe you're part of the Microsoft family or the Google family, you know that those are the ones you would actually want to use. But there are actually thousands of AI tools that are designed for different purposes, like I said. So it's not just content creation anymore today. We have gone beyond that, and then there are tools that you can use for your research, especially Perplexity really helps with research. Also productivity, coding, analytics as well. So we know that in general, the AI capabilities have, it has expanded beyond just these few categories. And there are a lot of tools that are pushing boundaries in creativity, automation, and also specialized workflow. Some of these are, in case you're just hearing it for the first time, you can take out the time to just check them out. Gamma, Lovable, Manus, we also have 11 Labs, Runway, but it's really dependent on what your objective is at the end of the day or what you're trying to get by using that tool. Okay, so usually when somebody would say, I need help with maybe XYZ, there's almost always an AI tool that is actually designed to solve that specific problem. Maybe you get a little bit of hallucination here and there, but that's totally fine because at the end of the day, it's advised that the human or a human proofreads whatever output that the AI would actually give to you once you insert your prompts. So the AI landscape is actually vast, and it doesn't really matter if you're researching or you're automating tasks. There are actually tools that are built for that. So I would actually skip, the go-to ones, but things like Firefly, which we use for transcribing, you also have Otter, just a whole lot of them that would help you with your meeting summaries and also transcribing. You also have platforms like Lovable, Wix that would actually help you with your prototype creation. And like I said earlier, just in case you're joining us, so over the course of this training, not just today, because really you don't actually learn all of this in one day, but we would also be looking at how you can use each of these tools in future trainings. We also have 11 labs. This is one I really find interesting because you can actually use it for your promos. You can also use it to sort of, put out a little bit of engaging information out there because it helps you produce realistic voiceover. Um, so these are some of the tools out there that you can actually use. At the end of the class, at the end of this training, you would also get an email just really occupying saying some of this, sharing these tools with you with the links to find them. You can also play around with them at your leisure if you want. Okay. Now, bringing us to this platform, it's called, there's an AI for that, interesting name. It is actually a searchable directory that would help you find tools across industries. So I'm just going to show you how that looks like, because it might be a little bit weird when you're like, what does that actually mean? It is actually the platform's name. This is what the platform looks like. It gives you a range of AI tools out there for different tasks. So you can actually choose which area you're actually looking for. Something I actually forgot to ask us to do earlier was just what is an industry that you're interested in. Maybe we can actually use the this platform to find one. You can actually drop that on the chat box just so I have an idea of that. So let's look at startups. So this is brand screen, right? It screens your startup name before you build it. So you can simply come to this platform. There's an AI for that. You can search whichever what specific tool you're looking for, what your objective is. You can actually input that to search, and it gives you a range of items. And most of them are actually, they are free, but then you also have, the freemium and also the premium option or model that you can use. So you can create an account, try to see what it's like. Screen your startup name. This is how it looks like. So there's an AI for that, gives you a little description of it. It's just like a marketplace. So if you have visited Google Marketplace, this is just how it looks like, right? You see a lot of tools, and then there's a bit of description. You have an overview, releases, some of maybe reviews that has been done. So let's just try to use this tool and see how it looks like. I haven't used it before, just to mention. Okay, so this is what it looks like. We have a name. So let me try one. And it helps us run like a free, what's it called now? A free report. So for anyone who wants to start up a business and you're thinking about a name, but you're not really sure, maybe that name is taken, or you're trying to purchase a domain and you're not exactly sure, does this name really, exist today? You can actually use this tool. Instead of doing like a 5-hour search, you can just use this tool and get all of the informations that you would need under an hour or so. So this is for domain availability. So you can see this is already taken. Truly, it's actually taken. And then you have others that are available. So not just domain, right? The report also covers things like trademarks, business entities, social handles. So you can see these are all available. You can also check for their availability. You have your search competitor, AI brand analysis, a whole lot of information there. And if you actually want to take it beyond, you have to sort of pay for it. So I don't have an account, so it doesn't require me to create an account to use the platform, which is really great. So there isn't really like a trademark, you know, match for Olive Space at the moment, which is totally fine. Just to mention, Olive Space is my brand name personally, which is why, I knew that Olive Space are coming, it's taking. Okay, so this is how it actually looks like. So for business owners, they can actually use this platform. Really cool, because I'm just seeing this for the first time. That's brand screen. If you want to also take it up, also try something else as well, you can. So let me see if I can find another. Okay, so these are the deals that they have. Just going back to home to see if we can find another that we can use. Okay, so we have this for vibe coding. We also have for font creation, which is really interesting, especially for businesses as well, right? If you also want to have like a font that is fit to your brand, you can also try out that too. You also have like resume optimization, marketing, a whole lot that there's an AI for that platform would really help you with. Okay, so I'm just going to come back to this. All right. So the last item, maybe not really the last item on the list, but one of the most important areas that we'll be treating is AI ethics. Now, I understand that a lot of us would be like, oh, yes, I use AI on a day-to-day basis. I understand how to use AI, but do you really, understand how to use AI is like the ultimate question. So AI ethics is ensuring that AI technologies are developed and used, um, respecting human values, they are used responsibly, just typical things that would, make sure that no one is actually misusing, um, AI when they shouldn't. So the first we have the bias. One of the AI ethics we have is bias and fairness. So this is when your AI system learn pattern from data and also making sure that fairness in AI means ensuring the algorithm, right, would treat all individuals equally. So you don't actually discriminate. There are sometime I think in 2021 or 2022 there was like a huge um there was this blowout with one AI tool that was a bit biased, and people were like, there is no way that the AI would be biased if the maybe the data that it's learning from is also not biased. So it's really one of the reasons why we have ethics in place, just to make sure that if the data used to train this system reflects, existing social, maybe racial or even cultural biases, then the AI would, or it can actually tend to, unintentionally reproduce or even amplify those bias. You would find that in cases of maybe in hiring, sometimes in hiring, really, where you have, certain roles that people would say are specific to, one gender, when in the real sense, not really. But if an AI system is trained or has a data that is speaking from that would, be more fair to one gender over the other, that's actually bias already taking place. We also have another ethic called transparency, which means making it clear how the AI system should function and also make decision. So you also have the explainability that just goes one step further. It's just a way to ensure that humans can interpret and also understand the why behind an AI's output. So sometimes maybe you input a prompt into, an AI system, and you're asking it to also, tell you why this is the case. Sometimes you don't have to. There are some systems that would actually tell you why they are giving you a certain output, right? It's just a way to um build transparency, right? So everyone is clear, okay, this is the prompt that you inputted, this is my output, this is why I actually have that output. Perplexity goes, one of the reasons why Perplexity is really good for research, because, with research, you actually need to have um you also need to have like why you're saying this or where you're getting this information from, stuff like that. So Perplexity also has that. It gives you sources it's pulling from. I don't want to call like specific, tools, but there are other tools today that would also, help you with that sort of information. Once they give you an output, they'll tell you where they're getting this, their information from and all. We also have another ethic called accountability and human oversight. This is one of my favorites because most persons that use AI tend to feel that you can actually trust the AI 100%. That shouldn't actually be the case. In case you do that, you shouldn't actually. It's very important that there is human oversight, keeping people in loop to review, to validate, and intervene also when necessary. It's just, for instance, let's say you want to actually build a cover letter for yourself for a job application, and you use one of these tools to say, oh, this is a little bit about me. Or sometimes we don't even, say anything about ourselves, and we're just like, this is the job role I'm looking for. It just drafts a cover letter for me. And anything at all that he gives to you, that's what you would actually go and give to the hiring manager, which is really unfair, just to you and also to them, because there's no way for you to be accountable for what the AI's output was. There's really no human in loop as well, because you're not overseeing what has been shared with you. And most times, this AI system would hallucinate and giving this false information, and you come for an interview and they're asking you questions and you're wondering, where are they actually getting all of this from? Because you never shared this. Maybe you are only out because you're only aware of your resume, but not your cover letter. So it tends to become a problem. So accountability just ensures that everyone can be responsible for the design, deployment, and the consequences of AI systems. Also, the informations that have been put out as well. And because of this, this introduction to AI ethics, you would actually see some platforms always saying, if you use AI, always mention it, indicate that this is, AI generated. You see that with social media platforms that you also publish some of your works as well. You also see that information, that request for you to notify whoever that would be seeing whether your content or seeing your work of art. And then lastly, we have the data privacy and security. So we know that, well, if you don't know, but AI system actually rely heavily on data. It can be behavioral data, it can be personal, it can be financial. But if you think it's actually not really true, let's say if you've been using any AI tool consistently for over a year or two, and there are specific items that you actually, input or you discuss with the AI on a weekly, monthly basis, if you come and say, oh, reference this information that we have spoke about previously, it has a retention of that. That's if you actually accepted that it retains, some of the conversations that you have had with it. That it's it would rely on previous informations to give you certain things dependent on what your prompt is. So ethical AI would actually require protecting this data from misuse, ensuring it is collected with consent and stored securely. Another thing to note, whenever you use an AI system, do not put out your personal information. That's like AI use 101. You can actually feel like you can trust this AI system, but please do not trust any system, because it can something can actually happen any day, right? It can be hacked, your data can be leaked. You don't actually know how those systems are built. So it's very important that you try to secure yourself while you're also using these platforms. And data privacy just really means respecting your users' data rights over their information. And there's also the need to safeguard the data from breaches and unauthorized access. So while some people might be saying, oh, these tools have been used for a long period of time, so um, it's fine if you are, putting if you're using informations that are already on the web, right? So something like, let's say your LinkedIn profile, that is already on the web. Everybody has access to it, so it's totally fine. Your social media name, same thing. Your email, not so much. Not a lot of persons would actually have access to your email, depending on what you actually do with that email. Your phone number, same thing. Not a lot of persons. Your address, same thing. So you want to be really cautious of the sort of personal information that you actually put out when you use these AI systems. Okay. Then we have, okay, I think this is actually the last slide. So apologies, this is the last slide. But this is something that would also advise that you actually do an action plan for the next 7 days. It can be the next 1 month. That's totally fine. As we, gear up to our next training, in July, you can try to use any tool daily. It doesn't really matter if it's Chat GPT. There are some persons who are actually partial to others. You can use those ones daily. Try to create one presentation using a tool like Gamma. Gamma is used for presentation. You can use it to build your presentations and thereabouts, right? The same way where you actually use your Google Slide to create, presentation, and also your Microsoft PowerPoint, with the help of Copilot. You can also try to build one prototype using whether Wix or Lovable. Remember, in our next training, we would actually be more focused on how to use maybe one or more, at most two tools that you would find interesting. You can also explore Manus. That's another tool, really, and apply AI to one work process. For a lot of us, it can really be, it's really dependent on one, if your organization is even into using AI tools. There are some organization that is like a no-no. You can actually use AI tools to, find maybe to what's the word I'm going to use now? Maybe summarize a document, or use it to sort of generate emails, generate presentation and stuff like that. There are some companies that are like a no-no just because they are unsure if their employees are aware of the best ways to use AI. Some persons would actually take confidential documents and then input into a free tool. That is really a no-no, because you're already breaching your agreements with the company without even knowing, right? There are also other organizations that are into, oh, okay, let us build our own system, or let's have an extension to, what we already use today. Maybe we are a Microsoft first company. So let's see how we can, expand on using Copilot so that it doesn't leak our information. We can use this for whatever, confidential stuffs that we are doing. That's also great. We have actually had a lot of companies doing that, not just for Copilot, but also for Gemini and all. Okay. Before I move on, I would like to take this time to ask us if we have any questions. Are there specifics that you would also like to know? Please send a message you can actually drop a message on chat box. If there are none, you can also say none, right? Then I can just proceed. I'll just leave us for like a minute to try that. Are there specifics that you would like us to touch? Do you have questions? Um, are you with me? Are you following? So just a minute. I would be expecting us to, drop something on the chat box. You can say no, no questions, or yes, these are specifics I would also like you to talk about. All right, so I can see a response. Jaden, I don't know if you're with us, also expecting to see something from you. Okay, awesome, awesome. All right. So lastly, just to discuss the future of AI, like we have really said, right, there are a lot of AI tools out there. So as technology really evolves, so would AI. Tools will become more accurate, they will become quicker. You also have tools designed for specific objective. So it's quite easy for us to use AI on a day-to-day basis or as needed. And interestingly, right, just like we showed using the platform, there's an AI for that. You can use that to find specific tools that will fit whether you want to, do a voiceover, you want to do maybe a housing design, you want to also see in a nutshell some of the domain availability, trademarks that is related to your brand if you're interested in starting up a business. So it's quite interesting really as technology improves. So everything just really gets better. Okay. Because there are really no questions at the moment, I will just take us through um one other item really. So there's this fear that because we are making use of AI, then some persons feel like AI would actually take their jobs. But like we said with the AI ethics, there is a large importance towards human in loop, which is where you have humans, reviewing all of this AI output, also making sure that there's no form of hallucination, there's no form of misuse. So at the end of the day, AI would not take your job. Really, it would tend to be someone who is using AI that would take your job, just for persons who are not willing to evolve as technology evolves. And then you also have persons who are not really willing to learn the best way to use this AI, whether within their work life or within their personal life. So while we join this training session, it's just a way to help you understand the best use of AI so you can also become someone using AI to stay ahead of the competition. Within this training or within our brand called the best use of AI, we also have certain options available to anyone who is interested, whether you want to upscale, there are free consultations that you can take, whether you want to also join this class, you can as well. So we have like an extended session of the class, which is typically like 4 hours. Mostly physical if you're in the UK. And you'd actually hear that from some of our partners who are in the UK called My Development Circle. We also do like corporate training, which comes with free 20 minutes. So if your organization is interested in a corporate AI training just to help your team understand how best to use AI, how best to, enhance collaboration, personalize workflows, even increase efficiency. We actually help you with that. So you can book a free consultation if interested. You just need to visit the link below. This is the link down here, beingcom.net/best use of AI to book this. And if you're also interested in a one-on-one personalized training, that's also fine. We actually have coaches who are available to help you have this one-on-one training. All right. So that's really is all I have for you today. And also I mentioned previously, this training is held on a monthly basis, always the third Saturday. So if you're interested in joining us for the next session, that is going to also be great. You can visit our Eventbrite page to actually book your ticket for the next session. Largely during the next session, we are also going to show you how to use some tools, 1 or 2 tools that would be beneficial, whether you are a professional or even a business owner. Okay. So I would just be leaving a space for any questions that you have at this time, before we call it a day. So if you have any questions, please, you can proceed to, you can drop them on the chat box. You can raise your hand if you prefer to speak. That's totally fine. If there are no questions, you can also send me questions. That's totally fine as well. Um, All right. In the absence of questions, thank you everyone for joining us today for the best use of AI training. I hope to see you next month, same time, third Saturday as well. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. Cheers.